Most people don't realize this until life humbles them. They spend years talking too much, giving too much, explaining too much, hoping someone will finally respect what they bring to the table. But in the American noise of constant opinions, judgments, and pressure to prove yourself, you slowly forget that silence is a boundary, not a weakness. When you stop defending yourself, you stop giving people the power to define you. When you stop begging for clarity, you stop abandoning your own dignity. And when you stop chasing, you finally see who was never meant to stay. Silence isn't retreat. It's recalibration. It's the moment you choose peace over chaos, self-respect over approval, strength over desperation. In this video, you'll discover why disciplined silence becomes your superpower and how it transforms the way people treat you, the way you value yourself, and the way you walk through the world. Comment below. My silence is my power. 1. Silence makes them feel. Your absence. People only notice what they can no longer take for granted, and nothing exposes this faster than your silence. Most people believe they lose power when they stop talking, but the truth is the opposite. You lose power when you keep explaining yourself to someone who already decided not to listen. You lose power when you keep showing up for someone who stopped showing up for you. You lose power when you let your words do the work your absence was meant to do. Silence is not retreat. It is recalibration. It is the art of pulling your energy back so others can feel what it's like without you. In every relationship, every friendship, every connection, there is a moment where imbalance becomes impossible to ignore. You give clarity, they give confusion. You give effort, they give excuses. You ask questions, they dodge responsibility. And the more you try to close the gap with your words, the wider it feels. That's when disciplined silence becomes your leverage. The moment you stop chasing, you force the relationship to reveal its true nature. Silence destabilizes people who rely on your predictability. When you always respond, they assume you always will. When you always initiate, they grow entitled to it. When you always fill the silence, they forget silence belongs to you too. But when you stop, everything shifts. Your absence becomes loud, your restraint becomes unsettling. And for the first time, they have to confront what their behavior actually cost them. Stoics understood this deeply. Reaction gives power away, stillness retrieves it. When you fall silent, you interrupt the emotional rhythm others feel comfortable controlling. You're no longer feeding arguments, no longer validating manipulation, no longer rewarding inconsistency with attention. Your silence becomes a boundary, and boundaries teach lessons no lecture ever could. Think about how people react when they are ignored. Anxiety rises. Ego gets triggered. Suddenly, they remember what they didn't appreciate. This is the mirror effect of silence. It forces them to notice the effort you carried, the presence you gave, the emotional labor they didn't reciprocate. And it forces them to face the one truth they tried to avoid. They needed your energy more than they admitted. Silence also protects your dignity when your emotions are running high. Not every accusation deserves a response. Not every insult deserves a reply. Not every person who wrongs you deserves continued access to you. Silence lets you step back, see clearly, and respond from strength rather than impulse. It gives you space to choose intention over reaction. And the most important part? Silence clarifies who's truly invested. If someone values you, they will notice the distance and move closer. If they don't care, they will drift. And that's your answer without having to beg for one. So remember this. When you speak, you share your thoughts. When you go silent, you reveal your value. Let your absence teach what your presence could not. Let your silence recalibrate the room. Let people feel the weight of losing access to you. Your silence is not emptiness. It is authority. It is self-respect. It is power. 2. Silence helps you hear your inner truth. When the world gets loud, silence becomes a weapon, not against others, but against your own confusion. Most people don't understand how much damage noise does to their judgment. Noise doesn't just come from arguments or drama. It comes from overthinking, from seeking validation, from rushing to respond, from asking the wrong people for clarity they can't give. In the American pace of constant opinions and endless distraction, it's easy to lose the one voice that matters most, your own. That's why Stoics treated silence not as withdrawal, but as a return to the self. In silence, you finally hear the truth that gets drowned out in chaos. When you go silent, you stop leaking energy into conversations that drain you. You stop telling your story to people who twist it. You stop asking for answers from those who don't even understand the questions. Silence protects your inner world long enough for you to see what's real. Because the moment you stop explaining yourself, you start noticing patterns. The moment you stop reacting, you start seeing intentions. And the moment you stop begging for clarity, you realize you already knew what to do. You were just too overwhelmed to trust it. There is a reason people fear silence. It forces them to face themselves. It exposes wounds, insecurities, desires, and truths they've been avoiding. But this is where your power is built. Silence is the space where your intuition speaks. It's where you recognize when someone is mistreating you. It's where you realize you've outgrown certain people. It's where you understand the difference between loneliness and peace. Without silence, you stay stuck in emotional static, trying to solve problems while you're still inside the noise that created them. The Stoics had a rule: pause before responding. That pause, that moment of silence, is where your wisdom lives. It's where you ask the questions that actually matter. What am I really feeling? Is this worth my energy? Is this aligned with my values? What outcome am I trying to protect? These are not questions you can answer while arguing, defending, or panicking. They require stillness. They require distance. They require you to hear yourself without interference. Silence also disrupts toxic dynamics. Manipulators, gaslighters, and attention seekers rely on your immediate reaction. They need you emotional so they can draw power from it. But when you stop feeding the fire, the game collapses. Your silence becomes their discomfort. Your stillness becomes their exposure. They can't twist your words if you're not speaking. They can't control your emotions if you're not reacting. They can't cloud your judgment if you step out of the fog. And through that silence, you start to see your worth again. You realize you don't need closure. You need peace. You don't need their approval. You need your own alignment. You don't need to win arguments. You need to win back your clarity. Silence gives you that. It returns you to the center of your own life. So remember this: silence is not avoidance. Silence is insight. Silence is power returning home. When you quiet the world, you can finally hear yourself. And what you hear will guide every decision, every boundary, and every step forward. 3. Seeking closure. Is self-betrayal. Closure is not something they give you. Closure is something you give yourself. Most people don't learn this until they've been broken by the search for answers they were never going to receive. You text long paragraphs, trying to make things make sense. You replay conversations in your head. You ask why they changed, why they lied, why they disappeared, why they treated you like you were replaceable. But here's the truth no one wants to face. The moment you go chasing closure from someone who hurt you, you hand them more power to hurt you again. Stoics understood this deeply. The person who caused the wound is rarely the one capable of healing it. The need for closure often comes from a fear of facing the truth. You want explanations because explanations soften the pain. You want reasons because reasons feel safer than silence. You want understanding because understanding feels like control. But what if the truth is simple? What if they don't respect you the way you hoped? What if they're not capable of emotional accountability? What if their behavior was the closure and you just didn't want to accept it? That's the part that hurts. Not the silence, but the honesty inside the silence. When you seek closure from someone who acted carelessly, you're asking a person with low integrity to suddenly behave with high integrity. It's like asking a storm why it destroyed your house. It doesn't know. It doesn't care. It just does what it does. People who dodge responsibility, lie through omission, or avoid difficult conversations do not magically become wise, transparent, or compassionate when you need them to. Their silence, their distance, their inconsistency, that is their truth. And every time you chase them for more, you betray your own. Stoics believed clarity comes from observation, not from begging for explanations. Look at the pattern. Did they disappear when things got hard? Did they twist the story to avoid accountability? Did they blame you for their choices? Did they leave you confused more than they left you supported? These patterns give you more truth than any apology ever could. Closure isn't a conversation, it's recognition. And here's the part that most people never admit. Sometimes we beg for closure because we don't want the story to end. Even if it's painful, even if it's unbalanced, even if it's unhealthy, the familiar can feel safer than the unknown. But choosing yourself requires discomfort. Healing requires letting the unanswered questions stay unanswered. Peace requires accepting that some people walk away because they can't meet you where you're growing. Silence becomes powerful here. When you stop chasing, you stop hoping they'll give you what they never gave you before. When you stop asking, you stop reliving the wound. When you stop searching, your energy shifts back to you, your boundaries, your future, your dignity. So remember this. Closure is not their responsibility. Closure is your liberation. You don't move on when they explain. You move on when you decide the story is over. Not because they gave you peace, but because you chose it for yourself. 4. Silence reveals. What words hide? People can manipulate words, but they cannot hide from the truth that appears when you go silent. One of the greatest illusions in modern relationships is believing what someone says matters more than what someone shows. We cling to apologies, promises, excuses, beautifully phrased explanations that temporarily soothe our doubt. Yet nothing exposes integrity faster than your silence. When you stop explaining, stop defending, stop engaging, and simply observe, you start to see the truth behind the mask. Silence strips away the performance. Silence forces actions to stand alone, and actions never lie. Most people talk their way into appearing consistent, but consistency isn't proven through speech. It's proven through patterns. The moment you fall quiet, you create a space that words cannot fill. In that space, you finally see who reaches out and who disappears. You see who grows uncomfortable and who grows angry. You see who respects your distance and who tries to manipulate it. Silence is the test no one can prepare for. Because silence removes the script, it reveals character, intentions, loyalty, and respect without you having to lift a finger. Think about how many times someone talked you in circles. They said they cared, but never showed up. They promised change, but repeated the same behaviors. They apologized, but still expected you to tolerate the same disrespect. This is why silence is so powerful. When you stop participating in the story they're trying to write, you finally see the one they've been acting out all along. You get to witness the raw pattern, not the polished version they want you to believe. Stoic wisdom reminds us that external chaos is often just a distraction from inner truth. People rely on noise. Long conversations, emotional reactions, debates. Because noise keeps you from noticing the imbalance. But when you withdraw into silence, the dynamic becomes painfully clear. Who invests and who drains, who values and who uses, who grows and who stagnates. Silence is the spotlight that reveals them, not you. And notice this. When someone fears losing control over you, your silence rattles them. They get louder, they get defensive, they start accusing you of things you didn't do. Why? Because your silence removes the leverage they once had. Without your reactions, they cannot manipulate the narrative. Without your explanations, they cannot twist your intentions. Without your emotional availability, they cannot keep you in the cycle. But silence also protects you. It gives you the room to observe without attachment, to understand without arguing, to decide without pressure. You're no longer trapped in their chaos. You're no longer influenced by their emotional turbulence. Instead, you become the one holding the frame, steady, composed, unshaken. And in that clarity, you realize something liberating. People reveal more through their absence than through their presence, more through their silence than through their words, more through their actions than through their promises. This is why going quiet is not passive. It is investigative. It's how you gather truth without confrontation and strength without conflict. So remember this. When you stop speaking, you stop being blinded. When you stop explaining, you stop being misled. When you stop engaging, you finally see the truth that was always there. Silence doesn't just reveal others. It reveals who deserves a place in your life. 5. Not explaining yourself is peak confidence. Confidence isn't loud. Confidence is the ability to say less and mean more. One of the biggest traps people fall into today is the need to over-explain. You feel pressured to justify your choices, defend your boundaries, clarify your intentions, and make others comfortable with decisions that were never their business to begin with. But here is the truth. The moment you start explaining yourself to the wrong people, you give them authority they were never meant to have. And confidence evaporates the second you act like you need someone else's approval to live your own life. Stoicism teaches a different approach. A Stoic acts according to values, not validation. When your actions are aligned with your principles, you don't need to prove anything. You don't need permission. You don't need applause. People who know who they are don't waste breath defending their decisions to people who have not earned a seat in their inner world. There is a steady kind of power in simply saying, "This is what I'm choosing," and letting that be the end of the sentence. Think about how often insecurity disguises itself as explanation. You don't want to disappoint someone, so you justify. You don't want to look rude, so you justify. You don't want to be misunderstood, so you justify. But every explanation chips away at your internal authority. The more you try to manage how others perceive you, the more you abandon how you perceive yourself. And the people who demand explanations rarely offer the same transparency in return. That imbalance is your signal, not your responsibility. When you stop explaining, you shift the dynamic instantly. You communicate one thing clearly. I make decisions based on my values, not your reactions. This is why confident people speak less. Their silence is not secrecy. It is certainty. They don't negotiate their boundaries. They don't clarify their worth. They don't audition for acceptance. They lead with action and allow others to interpret it however they want, because interpretation is not their burden to carry. This kind of confidence destabilizes those who once relied on your explanations to feel in control. When you stop giving them emotional footnotes to every decision, they lose the leverage they once held. They can no longer twist your words, guilt-trip you, or keep you in a cycle of defending yourself. Your silence becomes a boundary, and boundaries separate the people who respect you from the people who only wanted access to you. And here's the liberating part. When you stop explaining, life becomes lighter. You reclaim time, mental space, and energy. You become grounded in your intentions rather than tangled in other people's expectations. You start acting from self-respect, not self-doubt. You give yourself permission to be misunderstood, a freedom every confident person eventually embraces. because being misunderstood is not a failure. It's a filter. The right people don't need explanations. The wrong people won't accept them anyway. So remember this. You don't owe anyone a justification for choosing your peace, your boundaries, or your direction. Speak only when the message matters. Explain only when it serves a purpose. Walk your path without apologizing for its shape. Your silence is not avoidance. It is mastery. Your decisions speak for themselves, and your confidence grows every time you choose not to explain who you are. 6. Detachment in silence is the lesson they never forget. Walking away quietly is more powerful than fighting loudly, because silence is the only exit that teaches the truth without you saying a word. Most people think the strongest thing you can do is confront, argue, demand answers, or force resolution. But the strongest move, the Stoic move, is detachment. Not coldness, not revenge, not bitterness, but a calm, disciplined withdrawal of your energy from a place it no longer belongs. Walking away with silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you finally care about yourself more. Detachment is misunderstood. People think it's emotional numbness, but in reality, detachment is emotional clarity. It's the moment you stop negotiating your worth, stop tolerating disrespect, and stop investing in someone who keeps showing you they don't value the investment. Silence becomes your boundary. Distance becomes your protection. And leaving quietly becomes your declaration, I am done giving access to people who misuse it. Stoics believed that suffering multiplies in anticipation, not reality. Most of the pain we feel doesn't come from what happened. It comes from the stories we keep replaying. Detachment interrupts that cycle. When you stop responding, you stop reopening the wound. When you stop explaining, you stop reliving the betrayal. When you stop checking up on someone who mistreated you, you stop feeding the anxiety that kept you emotionally chained to them. Silence is not weakness, it is recovery. And here is the part most people never understand. Toxic people don't fear losing you. They fear losing control of you. That's why your silence hits so hard. It breaks the script. It removes the emotional supply they once depended on. It leaves them alone with their guilt, their insecurity, and their own behavior. They cannot twist your words if you're not speaking. They cannot manipulate your emotions if you're not reacting. They cannot pull you back into chaos if you're no longer playing the game. Detachment is not about punishing them. It's about freeing you. It's choosing not to fight battles that drain you. It's choosing not to defend yourself against false narratives. It's choosing not to stay where you are constantly questioned, minimized, or taken for granted. Silence gives you the distance to breathe, to reset your perspective, to rebuild your strength. And in that space, you see things clearly. Who respects your absence? Who panics? Who manipulates? Who disappears? The ones who truly cared will come correct. The ones who didn't will reveal themselves. Either way, silence gives you the answer without a single confrontation. No losing your temper, no emotional exhaustion, no wasted breath. And that is why quiet detachment is unforgettable. People remember how you left. They remember the moment they no longer had access to your heart, your energy, your presence. They remember the shift. From you trying to fix things to you choosing yourself. That memory stays with them long after your silence begins. Not because you hurt them, but because your absence finally showed them who they were. So remember this. You don't need to slam the door. You just need to stop walking back through it. Leave with composure, leave with clarity, leave with the dignity they couldn't give you. Your silence is the final lesson. Your detachment is the closure, and your peace is the new beginning they never thought you were strong enough to choose. 7. The 7-day discipline ritual. Turning silence into inner power. Power isn't built in a moment. It's built in the small, quiet decisions you make every single day. Most people think silence is something that just happens, a reaction, a mood, a withdrawal. But real Stoic silence is a discipline. It's intentional, it's structured, it's practiced, and like any discipline, it becomes stronger when trained consistently. This 7-day ritual is designed to reset your boundaries, rebuild your emotional strength, and retrain your nervous system to stay calm, centered, and unshakable. Each day focuses on one simple but powerful shift, and over the course of a week, you'll feel your inner world transform. On the first day, you start by auditing your noise. Not the noise around you, but the noise inside you. You identify the conversations that drain you, the explanations you keep giving, the people who trigger your reactions. You write them down, not to judge them, but to recognize patterns that have been stealing your peace. Awareness is the first doorway to power. The second day is about building boundaries in plain language. You craft a few short sentences, clear, neutral, and firm, that you can use when needed. Boundaries aren't threats. They are instructions for how others are allowed to treat you. When you know your lines, silence stops being passive and becomes strategic. On the third day, you enter the no-reaction window. 24 hours of refusing to respond out of emotion. No impulsive texts, no defending yourself, no rushing to comfort people who don't reciprocate. You breathe before you speak. You observe before you react. You let silence interrupt the patterns that keep hurting you. Even one day of this can reset your entire sense of control. The fourth day is the observation log. You watch how people behave when you stop feeding them constant access. Who steps forward? Who steps back? Who respects your distance and who pushes harder? This day reveals more about your relationships than months of conversation ever could. Silence is the magnifying glass that shows you what words have been hiding. The fifth day is your closure ritual. The moment you stop carrying stories that no longer serve you. You write a letter to the version of yourself who stayed too long, explained too much, tolerated too little respect. You don't send it. You don't share it. You release it. Because closure isn't something you wait for. It's something you create. The sixth day is energy recall. You list the people, habits, and distractions that drain you, then reclaim your attention from each one. You unfollow accounts that trigger you. You mute the conversations that pull you backward. You stop giving your emotional currency to places that never earned it. Silence becomes the vault where you store your power. And on the seventh day, you take the oath. One sentence, one value, one declaration that defines who you are becoming, and you repeat it until it feels like truth. This oath is not for others. It's for you, a contract with your future self. Because at the end of these 7 days, silence is no longer just something you use. It becomes part of who you are. Calm, clear, centered, a person no one can shake. A person who does not chase, beg, or explain. A person whose silence is their superpower. Your silence is not emptiness. It is evidence of your growth. It is the moment you choose clarity over chaos, dignity over desperation, and self-respect over approval. Throughout this video, you've seen how silence can become a boundary, a mirror, a filter, and a form of power that no one can twist or take from you. You've learned what happens when you stop chasing, stop begging, and stop explaining. When you finally choose yourself instead of fighting for people who never fought for you. The truth is simple. You cannot control how others behave, but you can always control how you respond. And the person who controls their response controls the outcome. So as you leave this video, carry this strength with you. Protect your peace. Honor your boundaries. Speak only when speaking serves you. Let your silence speak for you when words no longer do. If this message resonated, like the video, share it and subscribe for more. Comment below. My silence is my power.